Bethany, we're going to have a great summer. We're talking about the women in the Bible. Are you excited?
Yes, I am. We have so many characters that we're going to pull out from the Bible of amazing women.
So stay tuned.
We'll see you there.
The book of Ruth is what we're talking about today in our summer series on women in the Bible. And Bethany, this is one of my favorite books. What comes to mind in parts of this book is a parallel to Jesus as our Redeemer. So I don't know if our audience, if everyone has read Ruth, but you're going to want to do that. It's obviously the book of Ruth, chapters 1 through 4. It's a short book. It's not too long, and it's very exciting. I would say similar to Esther, there's some exciting characters there. There's Ruth, of course, and Naomi, her mother-in-law, and Boaz, who is a kinsman redeemer. And that's something we're going to talk about today, too. Bethany, what are your thoughts on this book right out of the gate?
When you read through the Bible, there's some underlining things that you keep seeing, and I feel like they're a way of God making people move or get into the place that they want them to be. And we start out the book of Ruth with, there was a famine in the land. That is actually said a lot throughout the Bible. There's different famines that happen and people move to where food is. And so God, I feel like God allows that to happen so he gets them into the place that they need to be. I mean, we could fast forward.
Interesting.
Or right.
I want to say one thing about that. And it's interesting, too, that they had to move from Bethlehem in Israel, right, to Moab. And so they're going away from the place where, you know, it's known. They have to go out and they have to go to a new place. So it gives them out of their comfort zone, right? So I wanted to point that out.
And back in that time, too, you didn't really marry out of your nationality.
Right.
God wanted you to marry a Jewish person if you were Jewish. You know, he didn't want you to go and, you know, fraternize with the other countries. And Moab, they were always, I feel, at war with Moab.
Right.
Moab was sort of just like a thorn in their side. And here they're going there.
That is interesting because I did read that the Moabites were often in conflict with Israel. So to your point, why would you go to Moab? You know, I'm thinking, why would you go to Moab? But they must have heard that there was food there, and that's why they went. But isn't it interesting, too, that, you know, I mentioned the three characters, but when they left, Naomi was with her husband, Elimelech is his name, and the two sons came with, and the two sons end up marrying two Moabite women, Ruth and Orpah. And so they are living in Moab for what was it, like 10 years, I believe. And during that time, the husband died and the two sons died. You remember that?
Yeah, so verse 4, it says they dwelt there for about 10 years.
Okay. I thought I read that. I was like, I know there's a 10-year there somewhere.
You're right on.
Yeah. So, and it's so interesting that 3 of the men in that family died. It's like, what happened there? Was it a genetic thing? Or, you know, it doesn't tell you, you know, or if God was, you know, cursing them, or I don't know. I found that interesting. So that's what happened. They went to Moab and they lived there. But then what happens next?
Well, Naomi says, I'm going back to my people. She's led to her 2 daughter-in-laws, you stay here with your families. You know, I'm not going to bear any more children for you, so you can't get married. You know, you're not going to be able to marry my sons. You know, my husband's not around. Orpah says, ciao, I'm out of here. And Ruth goes, no, your people will be my people and your God, my God. I feel like she totally went away from her Moabitess ways and became a follower of the Judeo-Christian. I think she saw something in that.
I do too. I really pondered that and I thought maybe she heard a lot about the Lord. The second thought was I believe, I think she loved her mother-in-law. And I feel like she had this loyalty to her. So kind of going back and forth on that, you know, was it more the loyalty? Was it, no, I want to go where your God is, you know. But as you read forward, I think it's more of a kind of a devotion to Naomi too. So those 3 words stuck out to me when I think about Ruth and Naomi's relationship.
I also think of loyalty when I think of Ruth, and I also think of trust. I think she trusted Naomi. If you look through that story, Naomi will give her advice, and she does everything that Naomi told her to do.
Yes.
So there's obedience there as well.
Totally agree. Yeah. Before we get too far ahead, though, when you just said that famous verse, because that is a famous verse, I don't want to gloss over that. Ruth 1:16, where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God. Okay, when I read that, I forgot about that verse, and I'm like, wait a minute. I started
Mhm.
singing because that is a famous song.
Oh.
Maybe some of you know that. It's very catchy. I mean, I'd sing that growing up. And I remember someone sang it with a guitar, and it was just a really pretty song. Look it up. It's on YouTube. I had to go find it because I hadn't heard it for so long. And it's beautiful. So next up, Ruth says, I'm not leaving you. And Naomi finally gives in and says, okay, you come with me. And they return to the homeland, which is Bethlehem. And
Mm-hmm.
they are on their own. They have no man in their household. And this is hard, right? And I look at this too as they're both widows. And what does God say about
Mm-hmm.
widows? He's going to take care of the widows, right?
Mm-hmm.
He provides. What happens? Well, Ruth finds out that there's a relative through Naomi and he has a field. The timing is barley harvest. She says, let me go to the field and hopefully they'll find favor on me and I will be able to get some food for us. And so Naomi says, yes, go, go. And so she goes, and this is where Boaz sees her for the first time. He is the relative that Naomi told Ruth about. A little bit about a kinsman redeemer is in the families, if somebody has lost, if they come to a place where there's poverty or they lose someone in their family, they lose the main provider, the relatives, they need to provide for them. That's the right thing to do. This is how it is. And so what happens is Boaz, he's heard about what's happened with Naomi and Ruth when they came back. I mean, they all talk, the whole community talks. And when him and Ruth talk for the first time, he said, I know what you have done. You have been by the side of Naomi, my relative, and you can stay and take as much as you want. You come and drink. He found favor in her. He took care of her, basically. And the kinsman redeemer, that was kind of the first step, is he took care of her and Naomi by giving them food. And then the plot thickens, right?
Naomi's like, hey, do you want to? Boaz is like my relation, and
Mhm.
I think you should marry him. And she tells her what to do. And Ruth puts on her best garment. She goes to the threshing floor, which I'm assuming was a busy time where they didn't leave and go home. They stayed at the threshing floor because they wanted to get as many hours of probably daylight. So they were probably working, almost like around the clock, but not really.
Mhm.
So she like goes and this sounds very forward to me, Carol. I'm sorry. If I did this, I'm pretty sure someone would look at me like,
Yeah, harlot.
but this was a thing they did.
Right.
So she like down by his feet, kind of bowing before him, sort of. I don't know.
It says she lays at his feet. She lies down at his feet, which is, if you think about it,
Very humbling of
yes.
oneself, a
Oh,
humble.
absolutely. And that is key to the parallel with Jesus because he's our redeemer. And what do? We become humble before him, right?
Yeah.
We're on our
Mhm.
knees to him. And it's just such a good parallel.
I agree.
Yeah,
Mm.
go ahead.
So, verse 9 of Ruth 3 says, now it happened at midnight. The man was startled and turned himself, and there a woman was lying at his feet. And he said, who are you? And she said, I am Ruth, your maidservant. Take your maidservant under your wing, for you are my close relative. So, but there's a little bit of a hang up. See, it's not like, it's just like every good rom-com. There's always this part of the rom-com where boy meets girl, girl meets boy, they fall in love, and there's a hiccup. There was somebody in front of Boaz that should marry Ruth before him. And so he's like, how am I going to get this guy?
Yeah.
So there was land. So I think about this, like,
Yeah.
it's interesting. Like, when they left, when Naomi and her family left to go to Moab, they came back and there was land that her husband owned. But because he was dead, it became like kind of like this family heirloom that someone needed to claim. And so by claiming that land, they would have to marry Ruth. That was how it would work. At least that's what I understood it, right, Carol?
That's what I gleaned from it too. She was part of the deal.
Right. So he goes to the guy, this is where all the men meet at like I think there's a city gate.
Yes.
It's kind of where they did business. this is where they just did stuff. And he goes up to the guy who is next in line. He says, hey, Ruth has this piece of property. We need to deal with it. Or not Ruth. Naomi has this piece of property. You're next in line. Do you want to take it? And the guy's like, absolutely. I can use that. And he's like, okay, well, guess what? You have to marry Ruth. And he's like, maybe I don't want that.
Yeah.
I'm not so interested in that land after.
He said something about, well, that would interfere with my other inheritance, so I'm going to have to pass. And I'm like, what does that even mean? It sounds like you said, a total rom-com. Excuse.
So Boaz is like, okay, then I don't mind taking land and I don't mind marrying Ruth. And honestly, they were at the threshing floor, but before the threshing floor, they were out getting the wheat and getting all the barley or whatever. And so that's what's really interesting about this. He knew her. He saw her. He told his people, throw more barley or throw more wheat down. Like, don't put everything in the stocks. Like, make sure she gets enough. Yep. So they had probably spent time that he had given her food. Like, they had some sort of relationship or friendship started.
They did.
And so he wanted to marry her. I think he really loved her.
Yeah. And I think he was the type of man who had integrity and wanted to take care of his relatives and people that were close to him. May the Lord be with you, is what he would say to his servants. And they said, may the Lord bless you in response. And it's like, okay, he takes care of his people, his servants very well. And then there is a time where they talk to each other when she was out there doing her thing in the fields. And then she comes in and he comes to her and says, Boaz says to Ruth, listen carefully, my daughter. Do not go to glean in another field. Furthermore, do not go on from this one, but stay here with my maids. Let your eyes be on the field which they reap and go after them. Indeed, I have commanded the servants not to touch you. When you are thirsty, go to the water jars and drink from what the servants draw. Then she fell on her face, bowing to the ground, and said to him, why have I found favor in your sight, that you should take notice of me, since I am a foreigner? Boaz replied to her, all that you have done for your mother-in-law after the death of your husband has been fully reported to me. I feel like he was an important person, too, in the community, because it's been reported to him. And how you left your father and your mother and the land of your birth and came to a people that you did not previously know. May the Lord reward your work. And it goes on. So he sees value and he has respect for her, too. So that kind of gives you a background of and an idea of their relationship in the beginning. That's when they first met. Yeah.
Right.
So there was some sizzle going on there, I think, too, even in that moment.
Well, and it's exciting. So the end of the rom-com is, guess what? Ruth and Boaz get married. Yay!
Yes, they do.
And then they have a baby, Obed.
Yes. Let's talk about Obed. Guess who Obed was? Obed actually ended up having, flash forward, a son named Jesse. And Jesse had a son named David. So that was King David. So again, we're in the lineage of Jesus. And remember our episode on Rahab? Boaz was the son of Rahab. Remember our story about Rahab? We mentioned Boaz there. And here he is in the story of Ruth. Yeah. So Boaz and Ruth carry on that lineage with Obed. So it's all tied together.
So cool.
It is cool. So yeah, I think the characteristics we talked about, I think Ruth was really someone who had devotion and loyalty to Naomi and possibly some faith or some belief in the Lord, right? And what else? Trust. You mentioned trust and humbleness. I mean, all
obedience.
Good. Obedience, yes. All the good characteristics really that echo our God. Yeah, I hope you guys took away something from this. I would recommend reading the book. It's really good. Well, tune in next time for the next summer series episode where we're focusing on Rebecca.
Interesting character of the Bible.
Yes. Until then, remember to pour
out
your
joy. I pray, Lord, right now as the person who is choosing you for the first time or renewing the relationship, Lord, that they will pray something like this. Lord, I have sinned. And I have fallen short of the glory of God. I cannot do anything. I cannot be good enough to get into heaven, Lord. Jesus is the way and the truth and the life, and I see that, and I believe that, and I receive that into my heart, into my life, into my being, Lord, and I ask that you would take away the sin, cleanse me from all unrighteousness, so that I can live in the home with you in heaven for eternity. And I ask these things in your wonderful holy name. Amen.